welcome back our CEO.CA users to PDAC, the world's leading mining and mineral exploration convention. The coverage continues, and my next guest, Ivan Fairhall, CEO and Director of Mawson Gold Limited, has lots of insights and information to share with you. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm great. Thank you for having me, and great to be at PDAC.
So tell us a little bit about Mawson, the history, the focus, and the people that make up the fabric of the company.
Sure. Mawson's an exploration and development company. We've got precious metals assets also with strategic metals part of the focus, and we've got a number of assets in the portfolio. Our main asset is called Rajapalot. It's in Finland. We've got another asset in Australia called Southern Cross Gold, and we're also exploring in Sweden. So we've got geographic diversification, I joined the company about 18 months ago, and a big part of that is moving the Rajapalot project forward because it's such a great discovery. We think it can be a mine.
Yeah, and you have quite the extensive experience in leadership. So what attracted you to Mawson?
Yeah, sure. So my background, I'm actually a mechanical engineer, and I've been involved all of my career in developing projects, and first as an engineer, and then I spent 7 years at a private equity fund that was focused on investing in these development stage assets. So I spent a lot of time looking at what makes a good investment, and when it was time to start a new opportunity, it was a lot of those things that I was looking for as an investor were the things that attracted me to Mawson, because I think the Rajapalot project, shares those qualities that really can become a mine.
Yeah, and on that note of what makes a good investment, Finland and Sweden are interesting countries to be investing in. So maybe tell a little bit about the challenges that come with that and the opportunities that lie within those challenges.
Yeah, sure. Finland and Sweden, collectively, they're really the home of mining in Europe, and there's extensive and a long history. Some of the world's most famous mining and mining services companies are companies from Finland and Sweden, and that's because of the legacy. They've been mining there for a long time. So they really know how to do things there, and it's a great place to do business. And from an exploration perspective, because of the way the ground is, it's covered by a lot of till. It's really not been explored to the same extent that a lot of other parts of the world is. So it's also very prospective place to be doing business, and the opportunity to find very, very good assets is still huge. And so it's a really great part of the world to be doing business in. In terms of the challenges, look, you've got to act responsibly like anywhere in the world. Modern mining companies need to be responsible, and the Finns hold businesses like ours to the highest regard, and as we should be. And so that's just part of doing business there. But I think it's what makes it a great country as well. So, yeah.
Well, could you tell us a little bit about your properties?
Yeah, sure. Well, the primary, the flagship project in Mawson is Rajapalot. So the project is located just outside it's in Lapland, which is the northernmost region of Finland, and the project is located just outside of the capital city, about half an hour's drive. So very well located, and what we've got there at Rajapalot is 1 million ounces of gold equivalent. So it's gold and a bit of cobalt as well, and the cobalt is a very important part of the story. It adds value to the project, obviously, but strategically it's very important, being producer of a critical metal in Europe, with Europe's automotive industry, where they want to decarbonise and move to batteries, and they don't produce very much cobalt at all in the EU. They import most of it. High 90% come in from places like the DRC, and they're looking to diversify away from that. So having a strategic metal part of it is really important for the project. And so at Rajapalot, we did a PEA last year to really just put a line in the sand and say, look, what have we found here? How does it work? What does a project, what could a project actually look like? And it was a very successful process going through the PEA. And what we've shown is that Rajapalot already has the scale and the financial returns to be a mine. And I feel very strongly that there will be a mine built at that. But in Rajapalot, it's got low costs. It's a low cost part of the world, actually. That's probably the most important takeaway from the PEA, is the all-in sustaining cost, $824 an ounce. So they're high quality ounces that we've found, and it's really created the excitement and the opportunity to go and find more. And so I see the PEA as having given us a mandate to continue to explore, because we're just adding value to a project that we've already found. So that's Rajapalot. We're also exploring in Sweden, earlier stage, but we've made a discovery there in an area outside of in northern Sweden where within 22 kilometres of our property, there's been 7 million ounces produced, and we've got high grades in core in a property that's never been drilled. And so more exploration to do there, but great opportunity to create value. And the third asset, to continue on, but the third asset really is that Southern Cross Gold. That was some assets that Mawson had in Australia that we've spun out to be a new company. We still own 51% of Southern Cross Gold, and it's a very valuable, it's become a very valuable commodity in Mawson's portfolio.
Well, could you elaborate a little bit more on what the value creation looks like for that project?
Yeah, sure. So that company got spun out, and they've raised money down in Australia from investors on the ASX. So it's a listed company. Mawson still owns 51%, so we own over half of that company. And the value of those shares on the ASX, you can look it up, makes our stake, our 51%, worth nearly 60 million Canadian dollars. So it's huge value. It's created huge value in Mawson, and it's a very important asset as part of our portfolio. And so investors in Mawson today have the value of the company underwritten by real hard assets, an investment in a company, a project in Finland with a PEA, and it's had the value of it articulated. And so Southern Cross is a really important part of Mawson's portfolio.
Well, many people expected gold to skyrocket, but with global macro shocks and inflationary pressures, it has performed well recently, but maybe below what some investors were expecting. Why do you think that is? And what do you think the outlook is for the sector?
Sure, yeah, I think most recently gold's suffered from, like a lot of parts of the economy and of the broader macro theme. It's really around a little bit of uncertainty at the moment, but the underlying issues, and you alluded to the main one there around inflation. I think everyone's accepting that inflation, we are in a relatively high inflation environment, and gold is suffering a little bit whilst they're still putting up interest rates, and that's what's taken a little bit of the heat out of the sentiment. But my personal view is that really the ability for central banks to continue to increase rates is limited, and more limited than inflation. So I think inflation is here to stay in one way or other, probably less than where it is today, but rates will stop going up. And what we saw last year or earlier this year when the consensus was that rates had sort of peaked, gold rallied very hard to $1,950, nearly $2,000 an ounce. That's pulled back from there. But once we get that signalling back, and we will get it back, that rates will stop going up, then I expect gold to perform really well in that environment.
What lessons have you learned from working in this sector, and how are you applying those to help Mawson stand out from the rest of the competition?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think as managers of projects and as of capital for our investors, really what you've got to focus on is adding value. You can't change the macro, and you shouldn't fight it. But what you've got to do is always focus on adding value to your project, and that's really real lessons I've learned doing value accretive work, be that exploration or studies or spinning companies out so that they can be valued in a different way, in a different market or outside of your company. And I think Mawson's done that very successfully in the last 12 months. I think they're the most important things. Do the things that you can control, and if you do them well, then the uncontrollables, you'll get the best version of the uncontrollables.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the investors?
No, look, I think it's just thank you for watching, and appreciate people's interest in Mawson, and we're looking forward to another successful year.
Well, thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thanks for having me on.
Take care.